Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, Youth Baseball Talk, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. We have a grand week, a big week this week with Game 7 Baseball World Series. We're going to start tomorrow, Wednesday morning, skills competition. We're headed over to the Cardinal game for the big parade after that. And yours truly, the fellas, I'm so appreciative. Dave Penning, Dave Schmidt asked yours truly, Brian French of YBM, to be participating in the first pitch, one of the first pitches there at the Cardinal game. I'm so grateful that they asked me for that, asked me to do that. Big honor. Game 7 Baseball. Thank you very much, Dave and Dave, for that. So, Mitch, I'm warming up the old Red Ryder BB gun. Pew!
Pew, pew.
Throw the old 40 poo fastball. Hopefully I don't skip it.
Don't skip it. I don't know if you've been watching some of the first pitches, but if you 50 cent this thing, I'm not going to let you live this down.
I know, right?
Yeah, you're going to have to go out there and be the old Nolan Ryan and throw like 86 at, 50-something years old or whatever he was. When he threw out the first pitch, he was like mid-80s.
I don't know if I threw 86 when I was 17, bro.
Well, then kick the baseball there. Or jump shoot it, whatever you got. I know you're a big basketball guy.
Yeah, I had a decent arm. Played a little right field, threw some guys out, but, I don't think we weren't gunning anything back in the day.
That's all right. Just don't bounce. Hopefully it's a good time and a great experience for you. I know those opening ceremonies are pretty cool. So thanks. I appreciate Game 7 Baseball and Dave for allowing me this opportunity. So appreciate it, fellas. Game7Baseball.com. We're going to be out. We got live stuff going on all week. We're going to be doing interviews, trivia. We're live streaming every day. We're going to be live streaming a 12U game on Thursday. We'll be live streaming a 13U game on Friday. We're live streaming all day for 14U, the bracket play. We don't have all fields, but we'll have field number 1. We're going to live stream 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and 1 o'clock games, and then we'll be out for the championship game on Sunday. So we got a big week, man. I'm looking forward to it, Mitch. Heck yeah, I'm going to miss it because obviously I don't have anybody in this age group anymore within the facility. Our younger teams, 9U has actually wrapped up their season for us, and then we have 17s going. So I'm going to miss the World Series. It was a great event last year. I know that we got rained out, for the remainder of the event, but we had a great start to it, and some of our guys had won some of the skill competitions. Actually, finished in first place in some of them. So anybody that's going out there, please participate. It's a great time. Music is going. There are interviews that you got going on, and just to get to see your opponents in a different light versus, always competing between the lines. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but today we're going to start with our topic for the show. Questions you should ask. Actually, it's tryout time, right? It's tryout season. I mean, 3 weeks ago, we were seeing the tryout Facebook posts, tryouts, June 26th. I'm like, June, man, we're not done with the season yet. Come on, bro. But
not close. We had 5 weeks left.
I understand the July stuff. Late July is fine, whatnot. But, man, it seemed to be getting earlier and earlier every year. I'm not going to get into that because that's what people do. That's what they want to do. That's fine. It's up to them. That's their club. But tryouts. Questions you should ask, right? Our first segment here with this starts with do not put your son, questions you should ask. And we're going to start with this topic. First and foremost, I think this goes to parents. I believe, Mitch, you should ask yourself, why are you putting your son on a club team?
Yeah, I think that actually has to be the number one question, because you need to identify what your athlete is, and what direction that they're going. There's programs out there that are single A, double A program, which is great, because there's a niche for that. And then obviously it just progresses. You have some history behind certain programs. I think that is the ultimate starter question, if you will, is where is my athlete at? And then, do I need to have my kid playing 50 games? Those will lead up to other questions. And so I agree. I think identifying what your athlete is and should they play in, a club setting or something different.
And it's funny. I think you can, and people might ask, "Oh, Brian, you don't like clubs? You don't?" No, that's not the point. I think clubs. I have no problem with club baseball. I think it's fine. I think you need to ask yourself. These are questions, because what do you have? A 7, 8, 9-year-old. What are you doing with that? Maybe you have a 10, 11, 12-year-old that hadn't played it. Is that it? Because first thing, Mitch, is what is the interest? What is your athlete's interest in the sport? Do you know, right? Are you asking these questions? Does the athlete show aptitude for that sport? How do we know that? Do we know that? Are we asking these questions? Does he show interest in playing high school baseball? Right?
So much changes, and we know this. And and I'm not, by no means am I saying anything to a parent, but what's the initial things that we do as parents? Yep, we're going to sign them up for soccer, flag football, basketball, baseball, whatever. And then at, 10, 11, 12 years old, then it starts to separate itself. Maybe a kid doesn't like baseball, so you have to make a different choice. But, we as parents put them in position to play this game first. And then so as we grow, I think it's important to understand, it's like, if you're not going to play high school baseball, how much does development matter? How much does the training side of things? How much does needing a membership to a facility matter? The suggestions of 5 to 6 days a week of working on your own. Baseball can be fun for the kid that wants to play recreationally. And I'm not talking about just the leagues or the parks. I'm literally talking about once or twice a week, they have a practice and they play 25 games a year over a 10, 12 week period. And the season's done. What's crazy is that's how I kind of grew up playing baseball.
Yeah.
We didn't have all of these events and playing 60, 70, 80 games. I would like to think that I would love to do that, but maybe it was a blessing back then that I had a chance to always love the sport versus grind the sport. And that comes back to some of the things that you said. Where is your athlete at? How much do they love the game? How much are they absorbing? How much do they want to go watch the older teams in your organization? Well, maybe your older brother play or older sister. If your kid doesn't want to pick up a glove and go outside and play catch, maybe a different choice needs to be made, because ultimately then you're spending a ton of money trying to get them geared up to somehow love the game. We have to be careful on some of the things that we choose for our young people. But ultimately it is that college or high school baseball is the next step.
Exactly. And that's what I think. Even if you take the kid to a club and they're playing within the club framework, okay, fine. That's up to you. It's your decision. I don't care. That's fine. But are you watching the child? Is the child developing a want to play for the game? And that's, as we grow through that, and we'll get to ages here in a little bit. I think this is an interesting thought process. Because, and I'll be honest, and I think it's always funny because people go, well, I had my son at that time, and regardless of what we would like to think, if we're honest, maybe you're not as honest as you should be to yourself when you're younger with your kids, and that's a fair assessment. We project probably a little bit more onto our kids than what we should. And you try to keep that in perspective, that balance. Hey, are you enjoying this? Are you playing? Do you like playing? Do you like traveling? Do you like going? You got to be able to see the kid begin to love the game and enjoy playing it, and the want to play, to get up and be sitting there waiting on you, ready to go. Now, not every kid's like that, and that's a few and far between in my estimation. Most kids, they get up and like, oh my God, it's early. But they get up, they go, they get to the ballpark, it's time to play. Yeah, let's go. They're kids. But remember, we're talking about life lessons here. That's what everybody talks about with sport, is life lessons. So are we actually asking that question? What are we teaching? How are we helping our child understand how to go about their business each and every day? And interest in the sport, aptitude. Do you have an aptitude for math? No, then don't be an engineer, right?
Yeah, you're not going to grow up and be an accountant, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. We're not applying certain basic principles to this same question, Mitch.
I agree. I look at every time I tried, and I just had a young lady who I coached. I guess it's been 4 or 5 seasons now that she hasn't played for me. And yesterday she sent me a message just telling me how much she appreciated me for how hard I pushed her in the game, and just not only that, but how to prepare for life. How a simple workout program or a regimen in life or for practice in sports, why it's mandatory or why we have those expectations. She's now seeing that 4 years after playing for me and graduating from high school. She's seeing that how much the workforce is competitive. She's seeing, how you have to deal with adversities in different places. And so we make decisions, for future opportunities. Why do I push a kid so hard on the game? Well, what happens when you have a deadline in work? What happens when you have to, again, I always go to this because of just where we're at in relationships with significant others, and you have to fight for that daily if you want to keep that person in your life. And so every single day you tell your significant other you love them. And, when you fall out of love with something, you never really probably loved it to begin with because you're not willing to work through things. And for the people that tell me they don't like sports or fall out of love with sports, you never really loved it. That's how I feel about just the game in general, what it's allowed me to do, or perspective, if you will.
And I think that, and there's guys that love the game and it doesn't, and don't have some of the ability or the talent as some of these other guys. And you see this. And so I think aptitude for the game and understanding the game and playing how to play the game and learning. And there's guys that can grind it out and get to a high level. So there's always that opportunity. And parents, as we're talking about this, you should ask, why are you bringing your son to a particular club? Have you found out about the program prior to the tryouts? Do you know anything about it? Do you know who the coaches are? Do you know if it's going to be dad coaches up through there? Do you know if it's going to be what is the process here? Are you bringing a whole team over? What's the development process? Who decides what level of play for each team? Will you accept the level of the team the club puts your son at? Does the club dictate that? And will you accept that? Those are real questions, aren't they?
Oh, those are fantastic questions at the end of the day. And if we're paying attention as parents, some of those questions are answered already before you even have to step foot on a field or in the facility or whatever you want to call it here. Because I look at we talk about this all the time. What does AAA major mean, or, AA, whatever. And I've watched teams, kids not play for certain coaches because they weren't certain levels. 3 years go by and that team has surpassed that athlete that once declined to go there and then surpass that team that they stayed on. All because of the coaches that are there, the opportunities that are available to coaches and players, to even parents, because if you're in the right place, there's coachability for your coaches, your players, and parents, helping them through processes. And so, yeah, I am 100%. I really believe in vetting your coach big time. And, we talked about it before, development. It can't just stop with let's show up and go to the facility, hit a couple buckets, have your coach yell at you about cuts and relays. It's more than that. It is what happens at home. It's what happens with, your education on the side of the sport. How are you building your IQ for the sport? Are you growing in it? And once you get to the point where you feel like you're not progressing, real questions start to develop even more into this. It's like, what is your athlete's desire? What is your organization's desire? And so I'm a firm believer of these questions have got to be asked. And those are some of the important player questions.
Agreed. Because here's the thing, sometimes in my opinion, at these younger ages, AA, AAA major, even single A, is not so much even sometimes the skill level, because that could be but is the physical level of the player. You might even see a kid that has some really good skill, his hands, everything's good, but he doesn't have the strength of another kid. And that at this age level makes a big impact. And you can say what you want to. Jose Altuve, yes, he hits home runs and does a lot of great stuff, but he's not Aaron Judge.
He's not. And you know what? And what I actually really love these debates on this side of things, because Jose Altuve might hit 30 something, and let's say 30, and Aaron Judge hits 40. You look at Aaron Judge and you go, wow, he hit 40 home runs. That's a mammoth, whatever. But he hits 260. But Altuve hits 30 homers, but hits 290. It's like there's things that we have to identify our strengths in those players. If we have a kid that's not a home run hitter, I don't want to say something ignorant or rude. But if he's a weak player, just not physically weak, right? Not saying he's not good, just physically weak, or doesn't have the build, or hasn't grown there yet, why are we teaching him to hit baseballs in the 15 to 20 launch angle degrees? Why are we taking those kinds of notes? A huge thing just came out with Billy Ripken did a thing on Major League Baseball averages because of Luis Arias, or whatever his name is, down in Miami, hitting close to 400. Like a large percentage of his baseballs are between -10 launch and 10 degrees launch. And guys that are from 0 to 10 degrees have batting averages over 430. This is across the league, right? And so I know we love home runs, and I know the OPS pluses and things like that, but who are we as a player?
Yes.
Arias is not hitting a bunch of home runs. He's going to slap the baseball around and just fight. If we have players like that, you need to ask your coach, well, what do you do? Because my player is not as strong as your 4 hitter is. What can you do for my athlete? Because now it's specific, and we can't cookie cutter the entire team to say everybody needs to hit doubles and dingers. Not everybody can't do that. There's a skill set for everybody, and identifying that is a question that's part of this process.
And you teach that kid that's not as physically strong as the other kid, I want you to get to that doubles. That should be the goal. You're hitting the singles, hit that ball in the gap, hit it hard on a line, get it past that guy, you're going to get doubles, maybe the triple, depending on the ballpark and things of that nature. That should be your goal. Gap to gap, gap to gap. I think we've lost the art of that gap to gap hitting in baseball because of launch angle. And I have no problem with it. Like you said, if there's a guy, you got a kid that can hit, and and then it's even more of a disparity, because Aaron Judge, if he stays healthy, he's going to get 50 home runs, 50 plus, right?
Right.
Because he hit 62 last year. And, that's 32 more than Altuve, and that's the difference. And so I agree. I love that perspective on that, Mitch. That's a great perspective, is development to the athlete's strengths and help them build on their weaknesses. I think that's great.
That's how you build. Isn't that how you build confidence?
And that's how, okay, you're a business owner, right? And you're looking at your strengths, but you got people around you that are better than you at other things that are your weaknesses, but you have them there because that strengthens the whole, because they have this strength, you have this strength, and combined, we do a lot better together.
That's if I didn't have my business partner and Kevin and helping me out with the money side of things and some of the things that he does behind the scenes that is not the baseball side, I'd be pulling what little hair I have left out, and it's a great fit. We Tribe merged with the USA Prime recently, and bringing on their resources. And us bringing on what I have available to them. We just had two different things we were missing. Guess what? We put them together, and now we have a better group to provide and to create these opportunities for people. And so, I understand baseball has big egos and things like that, and I have one. But I also understand what I'm in this business for. And so, if I can be the best that I can be, and somebody can help me with my weaknesses, then we're helping the athlete, which is what matters, right? And so, that's why we make the moves that we make. There's a reason I don't coach 8 to 12U baseball. I don't have the patience for it. They're growing in their sport IQ, and so I can't always coach that. I can train it because I have fun training them because it's very different. But I do have a hard time coaching because of how I vision the game on the field. So, again, patience. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and then make sure you find someone that's helping you build not only on your weaknesses, but as well as helping you build your strengths, because we still can't forget about what makes us great.
Absolutely. Real quick, folks, we want to show you a little bit here from our fabulous partners over at Prime Sports Midwest.
So we opened up in 2019, and basically there was a void in the area. I mean, we saw that there was an opportunity to have a retail store where people could come in and actually touch and feel the tangible object that they're buying.
Got some great stuff down there at 1550 Ocello Drive in Fenton, Missouri. Make sure you get down there. Tell them YBM sent you. We appreciate that. And you can order online. Go to our merch store, right, Lauren? We got some great merchandise here. YBM, that is our merch store is produced by Prime Sports Midwest. So it's on our website, youthbaseballmidwest.com. Go to the YBM merch store. All right. You get great stuff. I'm not wearing any of it today, though. Bummer. Go ahead.
Okay. So we, just speaking of Prime Sports, I didn't know that they did this, but we just got our lineup cards in. Hopefully everybody can see that.
Yeah. We
got
can see
that
it
down there. Make it. I don't know. I can't see the phone here.
There's
the logo right there. When you said that, I was like, oh man, I think I got my lineup cards in here.
That's cool.
They took care of us. So not only do they take care of your other, sports, jerseys, uniforms, and stuff like that, team stores, they do those lineup cards too. So
fantastic.
Yeah, there you go.
Mitch, as we're going into the life lesson, we're talking about coaching, we're talking about development. There's the conversation of Daddy Ball that our fellow youth guy, Mr. Ayers, guys who know, cracked me up, Daddy Ball. Eric made some good points, and we had some great conversation about that. But you know, every coach, in my opinion, and this is the thing, every coach in baseball is a dad.
I'm one. I got 3 kids.
Now there are some coaches that haven't had kids yet, right? But for the most part,
we have those too. We have some of those as well.
But for the most part, you know, when we say daddy ball, well, it depends on the daddy. Are there some dad coaches that don't have the experience? Some dads don't. Some have more than others. Some are not, probably shouldn't be. But a lot of these guys, some of these guys, there's probably more than some, are thrust in this position because nobody else does it. And these facilities, the clubs don't have, and I don't think they should, provide a paid coach to a team. How much are you going to pay for baseball? You're in the club, and I think that's where the vetting process goes. What is the development? And you can work towards those things that way. How do you do that? That's the questions in that conversation about joining the club. If I know John Doe over here is coaching the club. I like the guy. I know this man. His character is good. I know he's going to do right for the kids. Fantastic. But he's limited on his ability to help in the development. So that's where you have to look at and ask the question within the club. We know we have a dad coach. So what is the process then of the development? And I think that's the question.
Yeah, I think that's a completely different question. That actually might have a few parts to the answer there, with just how we're from the parent side, that you know, as an incoming parent, the facility side, and then the actual dad coach itself. I've been a dad coach. I'm a paid coach. I look at things from the dad side still on how to treat some of these kids when they're dealing with confidence issues. I try to bring out that parenting role and maybe some of the communication that I have with them, some of the tough conversations. And just because you're a paid coach doesn't mean you're a good coach. Just because you're a dad coach means that you play your kid at shortstop and hit second or lead off or third, you know, top 4 spots or something like that. Sometimes we take it for granted what these dad coaches are doing. They're the most invested. Regardless if they're good or bad, they're the most invested person because they have a kid on the team too. So they should be doing enough, you hope, doing enough to not only build your athlete up because they're wanting to build their athlete up. So the misconception is, it's always the same to me. If you have a dad coach that puts their kid first, why is he putting him first? Is it because he hits 400 or 500? Don't run the game changer. Evaluate the game. How many times is he catching barrels? You know, if he catches barrels and you're seeing this kid can hit, there's a reason why he should be hitting first. Just because it's a dad coach doesn't mean he can't play shortstop. Maybe he should be. That's probably why the dad created the team, is because he had his son could pitch, his son could play short, and his son could hit. Are there teams out there that have kids that their kids that don't do that? Yes. And most of the times I see them hitting in other spots in the lineup.
Yeah.
You know, and we can't look at this and go, oh, I want a paid coach. Well, go get a paid coach that's 20. Go ahead and get one that's 21 that wants to go out on a night on a town and have them come home, you know, come to your Saturday tournament game hungover. And I'm not saying dads don't do that either, but at the end of the day, like there's some irresponsible young coaches. So yeah. we can't just say I don't want a dad coach.
Right.
I was invested in my kids' teams because I wanted my kid to get better.
Right.
So I put people around her that would push her to be better. I moved kids. She was one of my best hitters. I'm never moving her out of the 3-4 spot. But I tell you what, if I find somebody that's a better catcher, I'll replace her. I did. I found somebody who was a better third baseman. I replaced her. I did. But what'd that do? That pushed her to get better. She played Division II college softball and spent, 15, 20 weeks at number 1 in the country at D2.
I've seen so many opportunities. And again, like I said, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Dad coach is fantastic. But I've seen kids, 14. Oh, you got to have a dad coach, or you can't have a dad coach anymore. And here's the thing, and I'm sure clubs understand this. If you're a good businessman, you're trying to hire the most responsible person you can find to coach these teams. How invested are they into the program, into the development process, into managing the game, coming there and I've seen both sides of this, and this is the equation, and this is what we're always going to run into. And I think these are the questions. This is why the questions have to be asked. It isn't just because they played college baseball. Well, there's a dad over here that played college baseball. Well, his was a little higher level. Well, this guy's also a teacher. This guy's still a student. If you're looking at that, I'm thinking I think I might invest a little bit more in the teacher, somebody who's been applying and knows how to apply and take lessons and put kids in position to succeed if they're a quality teacher. Coaching is about teaching. It's about taking information and being able to transmit that information in a quality fashion so the person can understand it and apply it. That's what instruction is about. And that's what development is about. If we cannot bring the information in a quality situation, then there is no development. And I think we see that within the sport around us. And people might say, look, there's from the St. Louis Naturals down there, the prospects, to the recruits, to I know I'm going to miss a bunch, the Redbirds, to the Gators, to the Bandits, Midland, to the Redhawks, to the Midwest Futures, to USA Prime, to the St. Louis Pirates, to who am I missing, Mitch? I mean, I'm missing everybody, right?
Yeah. There's so much out there for sure.
The U.S. Nationals to down south to Marucci, the Midwest, and over Prodigy. I can go on and on. I don't believe that these gentlemen, these people start these clubs with the intent just not to help or develop or do. You don't build that facility for that, right? They're in the business of development. You're in the business of development. But within that, you're still dealing with hiring people, vetting people as a business person. So sometimes it all doesn't come together, and you don't always have a dad coach that is in those perspectives. And I think this is what people have to realize. So it's still a matter of making the best decision for your own kid. Don't get mad at people. Don't start angry. Well, and then you start hopping teams and whatnot. Ask the questions. What is the experience level? And if you don't have the experience as a dad coach, what are we doing here to help our kids? And what's the process in helping these kids?
I got nothing else. I feel like it's that simple.
Yes.
I think maybe sometimes the hurdles are, maybe sometimes you don't want to hear the answers. So you're afraid to maybe ask certain questions, that you had brought up already, like level of play and things like that. I'm not afraid to ask and be told no.
Mm-hmm. Me neither.
Because if I don't ask, then I'm in the same position I was before. So how can I grow? What I like about dad coaches is a lot of these folks are in their mid-30s or above. They've had leadership opportunities where they work. It doesn't matter if you're in construction and you're a foreman, you're leading a crew. You're being a leader, right? Or you're in an office setting. You're an accountant, or you're a lawyer. You're leading a group, and there's a lot to be said about experience. And so, being 21, 22, those kids need to start out with shadowing, and they're usually shadowing parent coaches and somebody that has a high IQ knowledge of the game. That's what we chase. That's what the type of coaches that we're trying to chase. It does, like you said, it doesn't always work that way, but then it's up to me and our crew here to make sure that we provide that information to the coach. And are we doing that?
And that's what you got to ask, and that's what you're looking at. And I know a lot of these people that run these, and they are doing those things. Nobody is. I shouldn't say nobody, but for the most part, the people that are running these organizations are doing the best they can to help and grow. And if you don't think that's the case, look at the level. I think we've always had really good athletes, you look back, but look at the level of baseball that's being played in the state right now. The commitments at the D1 level, because the top level is getting better and moving to that. It's still the small percentage, but we have a lot, and it's tough because you say, oh, Brian, mid-level talent. You can say what you want to. That doesn't mean they have peaked yet. There's a lot of guys that would do really good to go to a Division II school, continue to develop, continue to grow, and get their opportunity at the professional level. But we have to think about those things.
You have so much available to us that we never had before with the transfer portals. I'm not condoning or against. I'm just saying there's things out there. There's a junior college route that, as us as parents, we can't. This again, another question. If my son at 17 years old graduates high school and is a year behind most development wise of other kids, and he wants to continue to play that next level, why can't he go to a junior college? Is it an ego thing that he has to go to a 4-year because you did? We need to look at who we are as who our athletes are. And again, there's so much available to us. And I always bring up the popcorn thing. There's a reason why you have popcorn that pops in the first minute, and then at the last seconds there's still popcorn popping. That's how I think about our athletes. I've my own team, the current team I got with 15U. I watched a kid grow 4 inches. Everybody was skyrocketed over him. Next thing I know, I look at him, and all of a sudden he's tall as everybody else on the field. He got 20 extra pounds on him, and now he's doing things different than he did a year before. What if I'd have gave up on that kid a year ago? We have to see things, and that's why I think even as questions as coaches, like I ask these questions to my kids, or what are you wanting to put into the game? And so the questions just don't stop with the parents, asking me questions. It starts with me too, asking them questions back. Because how else can you grow? I just in general, how can we grow as a community? And listen, I run a business. First and foremost, that's how I make a living is off this sport. I cannot risk creating a bad service. I have to have value. So when you ask me questions, I'm going to give you my answers, because I don't want to lie to get you in here to go down to tell your 20 plus friends that I'm a bad business owner or a bad decision maker, or I'm only in it for money. I do this for a living, but my service is in value for what you're getting is what I care about.
But that's
and if I provide a great service, then it's okay, in my opinion.
But it's the same thing as a restaurant. It's the same thing as the grocery store. It's the same thing as a financial service. If you're giving bad advice in a financial service, it's not good, bro.
Well, the only way that you're going to get advice tomorrow is ask.
Yeah.
And you have to ask.
So, and you go to a restaurant and you go, man, the service was horrible. The food wasn't even any good. I mean, who's back there cooking? Right? It's the same thing. Who's up there hitting? These are all practical. We talk about life lessons, because 99.6% of us of all these kids playing ball will never play professionally. And the one thing the NC2A got right is in their commercial is they said that the majority of these athletes will never go on to play sports professionally. It's competing, it's learning, it's a lesson of how to compete, how to go into the marketplace, and I think those are key. So I want to finish this, though, here, and a shout-out to all our clubs. People think, oh, Brian, you're bad. No, we're talking baseball. There's a lot of guys out there doing these things, and they're honest in this as well. We just are bringing this stuff up because it's tryout season. This is what we talk about. This is what we do here on Youth Baseball Midwest. And this is an opinion of Youth Baseball Midwest and not those of our guests or clubs or our sponsors. This is what to expect at tryouts. And, ages 7 to 9.
I'm part of this. YBM and Youth Baseball Talk. I'm a club owner, and I love having these conversations because they help me grow.
You think if you're honest, right, and you're going to think about what you're wanting to do, because age 7 to 9, I believe tryouts are silly. I really do. It's a flaming 9-year-old. Are there 9-year-olds better than others? I saw a 10-year-old kid the other day that was like 5'3". I'm like, what? You can't teach that. That just happened. That's genetics, man. So tryout? No, he's on team. Come here, son. We'll figure it out. We'll see where he's at. And that's what happens a lot of time just because of size. You understand? And you can find out if he's athletic. What athleticism does he have? What does he do? But you don't just push, well, he couldn't hit. Well, no. Teach him how to hit. 7 to 9. Put a team together, go have some fun, eat a snow cone after the game, and figure it out once they get to 10. By 9 years old, if you can put a team together, and I don't care if it's within the club, I don't care. Once you have, advertise, hey, come put your name in the hat, just like, that's what they do. Tell your folks, hey, if you want to do this, go join the local SPA, OCAC, and start playing machine pitch in that respect. If you want to, wear one of our jerseys and talk about that, we'll provide a shirt for you. And work. I think about some of this stuff, and I think to myself, but let them go play recreational ball, see what they do, see how they develop, see where the teams go. Don't cut nobody. I remember, man. This is my own experience. I told parents, I said, I'm not going to cut anybody. We'd started a team from 7U machine pitch, and we're coming up to 9U. And I said, no, I'm not making any cuts. I don't know. These kids, we had like 15 kids on the team because we still had a lot of the kids from that, they were rostered from the SPAA. But I told them, I said, no, there's no reason to cut kids. We don't know. It could grow and do and whatnot. We'll continue to work. I had a parent come to me and say, you need to cut these kids or I'm leaving. I said, well, good luck. And
Goodbye.
he took 3 or 4 kids with him. And
that's the unfortunate part.
Think about that thought process. So these aren't things that I haven't experienced in youth baseball. And I just was beyond me. First of all, I'm not going back on my word because that's not the kind of person I am. I'm not going to tell people something and go, well, we just felt it was the better way to go. No, you're a liar. Either stick to what you say you're going to do, be who you say you are going to be. That's a life lesson, and that's what it needs to be. What do my children think of me then? And if we're going to make these, this is very personal in that respect to me, because this is about what we are showing our young people, who we are, how we conduct our lives. We're talking about life lessons. Well, this is just sport. It means absolutely nothing in the scope of life. If you can make a great living at it, fantastic. Is it fun? I'd rather watch sport than a movie or anything like that. I enjoy it. I think it's great. But nobody's curing cancer. We're not it's not, stopping poverty or hunger or anything of that nature. Is it enjoyable? Is it something we do? Yes. And it's fine. It's fun. But we have to understand the perspective of things. And when you see men like Ueno, who do so much with what they've been given and the gift that they've got, and you see that they understand those things, I think that exemplifies he knows he gets to play a game for a living, right? He gets it. He understands it. And I think those are things, because this is what these are about. What are you trying out for? Life?
Well, I
hit you with some deep philosophical stuff there, didn't I, bro?
Well, I have mixed feelings about some of these things, because without baseball, I wouldn't have had a chance to escape some of the things that I had as growing up. And so I think about what the game has given me that helps me through life, right? But you're correct in saying it's not life. I wasn't good enough to make it a career. So am I in the business? Yes. In a different path, of course. It took me something different to get here. But when going back to the 7, 8, 9U stuff, there's some teams out here that have really, really good teams, and maybe they're the few teams that could have those cuts. But for the large majority of us, we have no idea what that athlete is whatsoever. And if we want that young person to fall in love with the game, keep it about as cheap and inexpensive and as fun as you can. If you get to the level and you want to make a change as a parent, because maybe your player has outgrown the skill set of that team, that's a choice that you need to make. Is it because of the coach that got you to that skill set? You don't just go chase the team because they're another good team. What if that coach got your athlete to that skill set? Maybe that's why you don't leave and you continue to struggle a little bit with some of the other groups. But 7 and 8 years old, I mean, what are we doing? If I'm a club team and we are advertising as this actually at 8U, what do I do if we have 30 kids show up and I don't have enough coaches? Unfortunately, I do have to make a cut. I do have to I guess, if you will, have a tryout. If we're pulling these kids in, I have one coach. I'm not putting 30 kids on that roster. So can we form a second team? Do I have a coach that's willing to do that, or a dad coach, if you will?
Dad, right.
Then I have to ask the questions. What is your nature of the sport? What is your experience in this sport? And so those are things that I always worry about when making decisions about or having conversations 7 to 8, 9U. Because again, you could be 10 years old and have a really good program, and you need to make some difficult choices because people want to play for you. But again, most of the sport is average. And that is not to take anything away from any of those kids, because there's very good at being average in the sport. And I look at the guys I played baseball with, and I look at the difference of the guys that I have a little bit of college experience under my belt, and I played with a guy that played professional sports or professional baseball as high as AAA. That man can crush baseballs. That man can hit with an aluminum bat. He can physically out-tool me. He has a better arm, whatever. I played on the same field as he did. But it's clear he was a much better player than me at our 20s or high school ages. And I look at that and go, man, I have these things under my belt. Like, I have some pretty cool awards that I was given as an athlete, and I love that. But I'm still nowhere near this guy's talent. And that is okay. Yeah. But after baseball, what do you have?
Right.
I make more money than he does. But he was a heck of a better baseball player than I was. And so it really, what does it mean? Unless you get to the highest level, I shouldn't say it doesn't mean anything, because obviously it does.
No,
I think it's awesome to be able to play professional sports. But some kids walk out of there without a clue. They try to come back to give to baseball, but they always were talented. They never really had the IQ for the sport. It doesn't make them a great coach.
Well,
you have a dad that's a business leader that can make a great coach.
And coming back to, the tryout perspective and the 7U through 9U, it isn't a matter that, you say average or this, and people kind of go, wow, what are you saying? No, look, remember, understand, what are you gaining from this? What knowledge are you gaining? That should be the key to it. It's just what you're saying there. What are you doing with that? You achieve to the place that you peak. Fine. And baseball will tell you you're done. Okay?
Oh, yes, it does.
Right? And not the
physically
person.
And mentally.
Yeah, not any coach, not any player, but the game will tell you you're done. Because you're hitting a $190 and you can't physically compete with those other guys. You're done. It's as simple as it gets. The game tells you you're done. So you take what you learn from that and go and be a part of society. Come back to the community that helped you, that nurtured you through that, and be part of that community to help and help the youth and the kids. If it's your own kids, if they're friends, whatever the case. And I see a lot of that. I see a lot of that happening with a lot of these guys that have come back into programs. We just had Tim Gurnow on the show last week. If you didn't see the show, go check that out, because Tim Gurnow is a kid from Festus. Graduated at Festus, went to a D2, my son played with him at Hannibal LaGrange. He is now the head coach at McKendree University. He came back into the community, was coaching with the recruits. Those guys down there knew him, Todd Stein, Dave Wiggins, they helped him. He was coaching, got a grad assistant spot. He wanted to go into coaching. Now he's the head coach at McKendree. Again, that doesn't mean you don't have talent. Take what you've been given. Take what you've been given that way and utilize it to make an impact on somebody's life. That's the key to this. That's what it is. And we shouldn't compare ourselves in those types of things, my opinion, because it makes an impact on what you're doing. You took your talent to the highest place you could go. Now, and what you've done with that is you've created an opportunity for yourself to continue to do the things you're passionate about and to make a living. That's the key to it. And that's what we have to do. And that's why I say 7 and 9, you make it fun, make it tryouts. Let's figure those things out. Let's let the kids just enjoy. We'll have enough time to as I don't know, better to, put kids in, the AA, the AAA, the major, and see where their talent becomes. And then you still, if you're at a AA, that doesn't mean you're not talented. Maybe it's just physically you're not quite there yet. Understand, and parents understand these things. This is where, and this is why I say clubs like yourself, Mitch, what you're talking about, allow the club and the coaches to set the development expectations. If you don't agree with that, find out why. And clubs and coaches, talk to parents. High school coaches, talk to parents. Are there parents that are out of their minds? Yep. You got it. Are there parents? Absolutely. I know that. But we cannot not have the conversation. You can't. Mike Matheny was wrong. Parents are not the problem. Coaches are not the problem. Communication, when we're not communicating properly. It should be about the kid, and we should put away our egos as parents and as coaches to communicate well, to make sure we create the best environment for the athlete, for the student athlete, because even at that, that's what they are. These are student athletes, even when they start at 7, even when they're at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, they're still student athletes because they are still learning the game, and we're here to be a help to them. That's what I got. Absolutely.
And don't be afraid of tough answers.
No, and that's the thing. And that, to finish this, like I said, don't let the club, Let the coaches set the development. Ask the questions. Make sure you've spoken to the coaches. Make sure you're working with your child. And coaches, clubs, make sure you're communicating to the parents so the parent can help, can understand what they're doing at home and how, if the child, reinforcing so the child can achieve the goals. That should be at the foremost. Work together. That's what I was talking about. Work together as a coach and a parent. That should be the goal of the club, is to get everybody on the same page so that the athlete understands how to achieve their goals. That, to me, is key. So,
that's
Mitch,
what
as
matters
always,
the most.
Absolutely, buddy. Absolutely. Thanks.
As always.
Folks,
sorry.
appreciate it. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. If you like what we're doing, remember, hit that subscribe button and then hit that dinger over there, because if you're big like Mitch, you can hit dingers, right, Mitch?
That's it. You got to have the forearms. I eat like catfish, and they're, look like a catfish neck or belly. You can't have them scrawny arms.
But we love the doubles guys as well. Got to get them doubles in there, baby.
Hey, I really like the guys that can run, because I can't. So triples maybe one of the most exciting plays in the game.
And make sure if you've hung around this long, Lauren's got it up here. It'll show you our schedule for the upcoming World Series right here on the back of this. So check that out. Folks, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you at the ballpark this week. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes. Hitters,
0 to 10 degrees.
There you go. I like that. We'll see y'all next time.